The radios are currently stored in this cabinet here underneath the computer in the DOC. As you open up the cabinet, you can see that the radios are on the bottom shelf. 3 radios, 3 extra batteries are all in chargers and currently charging. There is also a radio base station, which I'll review here in a second, and the radio base station does have an antenna around the side of the cabinet, which is magnetic. The radio base station is fairly easy to use. There are a couple buttons on the left and right, which we'll review. This is the power button here. On the left has a little power indicator on it. It's going to power up and go to the current zone and tact, which is kind of hard to see with this day green glow here. But you can actually see that it does say DEH HMDER. Now this is the home button, very similar to the radio. So right now this is the home for this particular base station. That's where it's always going to want to go back to. There is also a backlight for dark conditions, and this particular knob over here is the volume control. Being that it's inside a cabinet, you're probably going to have it fairly loud. It does have a power cord here, which goes back into some other equipment in the back of the cabinet for cooling the particular radio. It's got a little heat exchanger back there. Back to the front of the radio, the mode selector is over here to change modes. If I turn this, we go to DEH1. I turn it again, we go to DEH2, and so on. The one thing with this particular mode selector is you can keep turning it around in a circle and around, and it never stops. So it'll just keep rolling basically on that fleet map from left to right until you find the channel that you want to be on, which will be on HMDER for now. If you get it set up like this, you should be pretty good. It does have the orange distress button up in here. More than likely we'll be talking on DEH1, DEH2, and 3 like we talked about. You can change the zones down in here by pushing zone, and the zone will actually flash. So you could come over to this the selector button here and push it to the left. It's going to start jumping zones. Law enforcement, conventional. Push it to the right, it goes the other way. Get back to DEH, come over, and I'm going to hit my home button. Now we're dialed in on DEH1. If we wanted to scan, we would come in here and push scan. It's either scan on or scan off with this particular one. RSSI just tells you where you are transmitting out of. It says we're transmitting out of the north. And if you wanted to program scan, you hit program, then scan pops up, and then you could add or delete whatever you needed to do. To get out of this, you push home and you go back to your home button. It also has the nuisance delete button here in case you are scanning. Really simple to set up. It'll be set up to scan for teams 1, 2, and 3. But power button here, it'll probably be on DEH 1, 2, or 3. All you have to do is push the mode selector to the right, turn it I should say, and you could jump modes or tacks. If you do not want to scan, scan on, scan off. That's all there is to that one. Now to be able to transmit on this, there is a transmitter on the top of the desk, which is here. So instead of a push to talk button like a handheld radio, you have this Star Trek looking thing. On the right hand side is where you transmit. Hold it down, listen for 3 beeps, and then transmit. DH to the DOC, DOC to team 1. You can hear it kind of triple beep, but this is always plugged in basically. You'll never run out of batteries. You just have to have the power on or hold it down and power off. This is the communications fleet map. You can see it's fairly large. If I scoot back, you'll never see any of the detail. But as I come up close, because we have had training on this before, you can see that these zones are in yellow. So this is going to be the first part, upper left-hand part of the radio, where it would say DEH, environmental health. It's just going to say DEH. If you push the zone like we did and it blinks and you start to push left or right on the arrows, you'll start to go down through these various zones. County mutual aid, the government station, MMST, San Diego Fire 123, Rancho Fire 12, Heartland Fire, and conventional law enforcement, etc. If we go back up and look at the DEH channels, as I had mentioned, when we go over from DEH Environmental Health to Mode 1, you'll see that when you're on number 1, the center knob on the top, it's going to say HMDER. You get over to 2, it's DH1, 3 is DH2, 4 is DH3, 5, 18J Car 1, which is line of sight. This is not a repeated channel. If you're on this channel, it's good for driving, talking from one car to another car. Mode 6, San Diego Fire Dispatch. Mode 7 is Station M. If you are in Mode 8, there's nothing in this block, you're going to hear a dull tone. And that means that it's an unprogrammed zone, and you have to go counterclockwise back on that mode selector to get back into a programmed tone. And that is the fleet map. I also want to remind you that we have a communications plan. The communications plan starts off with the County Operational Area EOC. They would call the DEH DOC. If the DEH DOC needed to speak with HERT, they would call them on DEH-ER, which is number 1 on the mode selector. As you come down the comm plan, you can see that the DOC will talk to various branches within the DOC as line of sight. They're all in the same room. When they get down to field teams, we have field teams 1, 2, and 3. Now field team 1 would end up operating on basically DEH1. And there could be, field teams 1, 2, 3 there. As you go over on the mode selector, DEH2, we're going to get 3 more teams. And same with DEH3. This could be special operations for vector or whatnot. They use this on a routine basis for larvicide drops. Well, that's our clip on the XTS 2500. Hope you enjoyed it. Good luck using your radios.